Blue Ridge City Council, okay, election. Now, C1, what is C1? And let's just say this for the reason being, okay? C1 is a commercial zone 2. I mean C2, commercial C2. C2 has some limitations. I think C1 really has very little limitations what you can build, but let's not get into the zoning. But C1 is C2 is commercial. Let me back that up. So, if you go out today, now this is my question, and here's the reason why. Okay, I have been waiting for this decision as the city of Blue Ridge, Georgia, by Barbie Gerald, election superintendent, hearing officer, on the administrating hearing against Jane D. Whaley, candidate. Okay. Now, it appears that all of the business owners that are downtown would like to, if they don't live there, they would like to vote in the city, okay? And they would like to maybe run for office in the city. But it's said they have a business and they're zoned C2, and therefore they don't live there, they can't vote. But with this hearing on this individual, Jane Whaley, by Barbie Gerald, did Miss Gerald discriminate against Miss Whaley? Now, I hate to say that directly about Barbie Gerald. She's a nice lady. And I still will look at the camera and say that she is not running her. I say it's totally my opinion that this is not her decision. She may feel this way, but this is not her decision. And my opinion strictly is that Miss Gerald has never had the intention, never would have, may have never brought up any kind of an inquiry to Miss Whaley if it were not for, my opinion, Councilwoman Angie Arp and City Attorney David Siphon. Everybody is in save my ass mode up there, or City Council save my career, or whatever you want to call it. So Angie Arp is prepared. By all means, it looks as though she's prepared to do about anything she has to do to get reelected to City Council. David Siphon knows, feels pretty strong if 3 votes go one way, that will be, his gravy train will be over. He'll have to explain at home why they no longer can afford that extra BMW. And Barbie Gerald, again, my words, let's be clear, I think her job, and it's sad to say that her job could be in jeopardy. That's my words. I want to be very clear on that. I've not heard that, but it did come up. See, these are my words, but I have the video where Frank Moore, the attorney, Jane Whaley's attorney, said, you know, something to the reference, hey, what about your job? Has it ever been threatened? Do you feel a concern that if you don't rule a certain way? Okay. Now, that being said, C2, commercial. If this city, if Barbie Gerald, election supervisor, okay, buckles to Angie Arp, if Barbie Gerald, which I like a lot, I like her a lot, buckles to David Siphon, and this election goes through, no matter if he wins or loses, they may be setting up a precedent to allow C2 business owners to vote and run for office. If you run over today as a C2 business owner and you put a cot, you go up and you get a camping cot and you put it in the office, and you roll out a sleeping bag on that camping cot, and you go in that bathroom and you screw a toothbrush holder, and you go get you a, your choice, Sensodyne, your Colgate, Crest, whatever, AIM, the little gel stuff, whatever. You go get you a tube of toothpaste and you put in there, and you go and get you a toothpaste holder and you drop you a toothbrush in there, which then again, that reminds me, what the hell happened? I mean, you used to get a toothbrush. Now there's like 97, and some of them are like $8 and $9. What the hell happened? I remember, all right, so anyhow, go get you a toothbrush. You put it in the holder. You get you some toothpaste. You put it there. Get you a bar of soap where you can wash your hands. Get you a towel rack. Hang a little towel there where you can wash your face and hands. Put your washcloth there. Hang a medicine cabinet. Put some lotion in there. Whatever you want to do. Put some, aspirin, whatever in there, and some Band-Aids, and then again, put your toothbrush in the holder. Put your cot out. Roll the sleeping bag out, and guess what? You will qualify to run for office and vote. Now, this is not personal. I can't say enough. This is not I do not know this individual. If I bump into this individual tomorrow, okay, in Blue Ridge, tomorrow, I won't know who he is. I've not heard negative about the individual. I don't know anything good or bad, and I'm not drawing any kind of judgment. Just qualifications. If I have one, I have 10 people that adamantly call me and say, David Stewart cannot run. He does not live there. I think off the top of my head, all of them, everybody knows. This is what I get all the time. Everybody knows that paint shop that he has, he lives out on Asker Road. Everybody knows that. That's what I get. That's what I'm told. David Stewart lives out on Asker Road. Everybody calls me. He does not live in that paint shop. That's not his home. It's zoned C2. It's a paint shop, and I've never been in it, but maybe he has a cot in the back and a toothbrush. But my understanding is Barbie Gerald went over there and looked and said, hey, looks like he might live there. Well, I didn't know he was supposed to be able to live in a C2 zone. So one, can you live in a C2 zone? I don't know. Not trying to. And two, you throw out a cot and a toothbrush and you can vote and run for office. You see, if he does not win, all right, we want to keep this the same segment because I'm going to take a small break, okay? But if he does not win, and he is running against, I think he's running against Nathan Fitz, but it is a prominent notice, okay? If there is insufficient time to strike her name or reprint the ballot. So this is on Jane Whaley, okay? Since I have determined Miss Whaley is not qualified in my position as election superintendent, I shall withhold Miss Whaley's name as a candidate upon the ballot, or strike her name from the ballot if the ballots have been printed. If there is insufficient time to strike her name or reprint the ballots, I will post a prominent notice at the city polling place advising voters that Miss Whaley is disqualified and as a candidate, and all votes cast for her shall be void and shall not be counted. Now remember that if all votes casted for her shall be voided and not counted. Although even if David Stewart loses, if they do not come out and say his votes are void, if this is true, and will not be counted, even if he loses the election and they count the votes and put them in the record books, they have set a precedence that they cannot go back. They will be changing. They will have something. You remember Frank, if you were there, I have all 7 hours, okay? If you remember Frank, what's Frank's last name? Frank Frank Moore. If you remember Frank Moore, Attorney Frank Moore's discussion there and comments that day, okay, that'll be just the beginning, because you take an attorney like Frank Moore next election, anybody that runs, they will cite this. They will use this determination. They will use David Stewart's determination. This is something the city of Blue Ridge cannot come back from. It will be on the books that this decision was made against one candidate. There was no decision made against another candidate in C2 that, for the most part, knowingly does not live there. Now, I, for one, cannot come down on the side of, I can't come down on the side of any candidate, but in full disclosure, we do a show 2 years in a row at Sycamore Crossing, okay? Sycamore Crossing. And I don't know if this guy has a cot, all right? I mean, I get phone calls. Angelina Powell lives out on Lake Blue Ridge, all right? And I know that just probably just made her so angry. She's attacking me left or right now, okay? I mean, I have calls that Angelina Powell lives out on Lake Blue Ridge. Yes, for those of you asking, Angelina Powell does own a home. I guess her and her husband own a home in Blue Ridge, but my understanding, that's where her daughter lives. So her daughter lives there is my understanding, but everybody says Angelina Powell lives out on Lake Blue Ridge. Well, I'm not going to argue that fact, but at Sycamore Crossing, I watched, there was the discussion of whether Jane Whaley intended to live in Blue Ridge or not, if she was just pretending. So what will be interesting is after the election to see if Angelina Powell moves back to the lake house. I don't know. See what happens after. But when Jane Whaley says that she plans and her intent was to live in Blue Ridge, I know she owns Sycamore Crossing, and I watched the moving truck. I've been in that apartment so many times. I watched the moving truck bring everything in there, from the china to the tables. I mean, it's not a cot. Jane Whaley does not intend to have a cot with a sleeping bag and a toothbrush. I mean, there is furniture in that place like you would not believe. There is no way you can walk in there and say, well, Jane Whaley never intended to live here and is just using this apartment. That's my opinion, solely my opinion, to get a fast one. There's no way you can walk up in that apartment and say, oh, look at what she's done to pull a fast one on the election supervisor to try to run for office and do something underhanded in the city of Blue Ridge. It just didn't happen. I'm your host, BKP. We'll come back and talk about this just a little more after the break. We're going to stay with this same segment, and I want to go over a couple more things before we close this part out this morning. Take us to break. So, Jane Whaley has been ruled against. What will Jane do? On Monday, September 25th, as election supervisor, held an administrative hearing in order to receive evidence to make a determination as to whether candidate Jane D. Whaley was qualified to be an election candidate for post 1 seat in Blue Ridge City Council and general election for said seat to be held on Tuesday, November 7th. What will Jane do? We will find out today. I spoke to Jane Whaley yesterday. Obviously, David Siphon wrote this ruling. We will put it out for you. I'm going to send it over and have it put out immediately. That's 10 pages. You can read it. We do have the 7-hour video that we will post. We have been holding that. We did not want to put that video out for any reason whatsoever. So we did not want anybody going back and watching that video for any reason until this determination was made. So we have on video of how distressed, we'll say it nicely, we'll say it respectfully, that Barbie Gerald was during that day. We have on video her acknowledgement that She only had 2 days training to make this decision. Only went 2 days to make this decision. You will hear on the video where Frank Moore, the attorney for Jane Whaley, said, hey, where do you get to call witnesses, and where do you get to hold this hearing? Where does that said in the city charter? Only the council. So many things, and the possible discrimination against Miss Whaley as a candidate. So we will see. Hey, the two candidates is Angelina Powell, which I get phone calls on that says she actually lives out on a lake, but I don't know that. She does have a home. So for those of you that ask, Angelina Powell has a home in Blue Ridge. I understand her daughter lives there. What I'm being told is Angelina has moved in at this time, or is showing like good faith she lives there at this time. So that's my understanding for those of you that say that. But the one in question is David Stewart living at his paint shop, zoned C2, and that one is everybody knows. I got a text message before the show started this morning. Everybody knows it doesn't stop. Everybody knows that. So wonder what will happen in this election. Oh, by the way, I just got to put out there, there's been about 3 people that told me that David Stewart is Johnny Searcy's candidate.